Hello YouTube world. Tonight I'm going to do an unlocked book report on White Trash, the 400-year untold story of class in America, and this is by Nancy Isenberg. Now after reading this book right here, White Trash, the untold story, 400 years of it, gives you a very good in-depth of the history of the class system went on in America, going all the way back to the 1600s all the way up till today. Now, if you have a British ancestry like I do, which majority of Americans do, believe it or not, our forefathers, I would say, our ancestors are more likely British rejects. Because when the New World was founded, and England had all these poor white people in it, the present overfilled with poor white people, street beggars, carpetbaggers, I should say, squatters. Low-life filth, subhuman people of the poor white people. They decided to ship them all off to the New World, and Jamestown was, you can say, the first settlement of a community of poor white trash people. Call them lazy, good-for-nothing scoundrels, rubbish type of people, subhuman, dumb and ignorant people, white trash. And throughout the years of the United States and America, there's a class, especially in 1700s, the 1800s, all up to the, say, early 20th century, even to today, there's a classism in the United States. And going back 1600s and beyond Revolutionary War, stuff like that, the poor whites who didn't own land, who had a bunch of kids, referred to them as rubbers, stuff like that. It was mainly the rich white landowners that control what happened in the United States. And the poor white people, the only usefulness they had was to fight wars and stuff like that, or do work that none of the rich white people didn't want to do. Matter of fact, the Irish who came to the United States, and Scottish later on, I would say, and most of the poor white British people came to the United States, a lot were indentured servants, slaves. There was white slavery at first in the United States. Then later on, now shortly after, I would say, the African slaves came into the United States. And the quotes for, poor white people in the United States is just unreal. I mean, poor white trash more like a 20th century term. Redneck is a 20th century term. But back in those days, throughout the 1800s, we was known as squatters, carpetbaggers, mud-filled people, mud throwers. Just no rubbish type of people. I can go on forever, So it's a few words of things top of my head. Let me think again, So we're on squatters, rubbish, mud throwers, rubbish. I'm sorry, I'm brain dead. Hope I'll think of it later. But this is a very interesting book, classic United States. And the Revolutionary War, the founding fathers and stuff, were mostly elitist. The elite white people of the damn day, and our founding fathers. Now, I love America and everything else, don't get me wrong, I'm thank God for the Revolutionary War. But later on, let's go up to Andrew Jackson time. Now, Andrew Jackson, I guess, considered like one of the American heroes in the presidency of U.S. history. He one that led, I say, a bunch of carpetbagger, mudslinger people, filth people, subhuman people. There are subhuman, a lot of Indians, Native Americans as well, to the Battle of New Orleans. Andrew Johnson also liberated Florida without orders. He went into Florida to liberate without orders, believe it or not. And I hate to trace back a little bit, but if you go to Georgia in the colonial times, used to, the new governor, the appointed governor of Georgia, didn't allow Negro slaves. He wanted white slaves in Georgia. He wanted poor white trash to work the lands. The mud-filled people, the mudslingers, the squatters, the rubbish type of people. And it gets me, poor whites were supposed to work the land, but later African slavery came and they worked the lands for the rich white elite. Now, all this terminology for poor whites didn't come from blacks at all. It all came from rich white folks, rich white landowners. And back in those days, from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War, if you're white, if you didn't own land, you didn't own slaves, you were filth. You were subhuman, below the cultural standard at the time. Believe it or not. If you was white in those days, you didn't own slaves, you didn't own property, you were filth. You was below the poverty line in those days. And the U.S. was full of them. Because it was all rejects from basically England. England, basically. Sorry, tongue-tied. But what really gets me, with the poor white people and stuff like that, they often refer to them, even through the Civil War days, as just filthy, rubbish, squatters, mudslinger type of people. And when the Civil War broke out, when the rich white Southerners, the Confederacy, wanted to break off the Union and form their own country, they relied on the poor whites to fight the battles for them. Do you think the rich white elitists going on a battlefield? Think again. It was the rubbish squatters, the mud thrower type people. And they fooled their heads through of, Confederate ideology, saying the Northerners are the mudslingers, subhuman type of people. But unfortunately, a lot of the Confederate soldiers thought, and one of them says, a quote from one of them says, "We're fighting no more than the rich man's war year." That's a Confederate soldier that said that. And a lot of the rich white landowners always assert as poor white people, I would say, no more better off than a Negro slave. If it was poor and white, didn't own slave, then you're just above a Negro slave, or perhaps equal to a Negro slave. These are all quotes. I'm not trying to be racist or anything else. Even after the Civil War, still there was the poor whites. And the rich white elites didn't like them at the time. Even though we fought their battles for them, they still didn't like us at all. We was considered all the way up to the middle of the 20th century as subhuman type of people. And if you want to get in depth of the history of poor white trash in America, the untold 400 years of untold story, read this book, put it up there. It's going to be my thumbnail right here. White Trash, 400 Years Untold Story of Class System in the United States. It's a very interesting book. Goes into details. The Civil Rights Movement. They said, Andrew Jackson was the first white trash president. A cracker. Yes, he was a cracker. A cracker is a terminology for white trash. It was made up by rich white people. Crackers. Now, rednecks and trailer trash, they were more of a 20th century term, which it holds still today for poor white people in the United States. Now, before I close this out, I say what you say, some racist term. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to tell you some historical quotes out with that. More of it is in this book. Cop the book. You won't regret. It's the history of white trash in the United States. And also, before I make this point, there's a lot of my friends who really don't like these people because, you think of white trash, you think of trailer parks, women with kids from different daddies, have different daddies' kids, whatever have you. Let's put it this way, self-terminology, I'm sorry. You think of a woman who's having kids by different men, let's put it that way. This lazy, good for nothing people, poor white trash. And throughout U.S. history, even today, there's still a lot of rich white folks don't like us at all. And I do believe the white trash people, the poor whites, the hillbillies, is another term for them, that still to this day, a lot of rich white folks don't like these people at all. If you look at both parties, the conservatives, the liberals, a lot of them don't like them. A lot of white conservatives don't like white trash people. And a lot of the rich white liberals don't like white trash people. Just being honest with you. But a few of the so-called squatters, crackers, the mud throwers, the rubbish people, the subhumans, managed to make political power in U.S. history. The first one I would say is Andrew Jackson. Andrew Johnson's one is too. He was a Democrat from Tennessee who remained loyal. Got rewarded to become the vice presidential candidate with Abraham Lincoln to later on be president, of course. But I'm not talking about him. Then later on, I would say we have Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Sarah Palin, the most recent one here. If you look at their histories, they had the similar history of a cracker, of a squatter, of rubbish people. I'm just being honest with you, YouTube world. But before I close this out, white trash, the 400-year untold story of class in America. Until this day, we have a class system in America. And who oppressed the poor whites the most? It's not the blacks. It's the rich, elitist, white people. And I always thought if blacks want to intermingle with whites, let them intermingle with the poor scum of the white trash in America. Because a lot of them to this day we're no better off than a Negro. I'm just saying quotes from the book. Well, YouTube world, thank you for watching. I thought I'd share this with you. Bye bye. Have a good day.